Hey, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kelly, and I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur from Essex in the UK. I'm currently living in Bali. I wanted to make this YouTube video to give you an insight into how I went from being back home in Essex, very depressed, a party girl who was just kind of living life by each day, to now somebody who lives in Bali, has big aspirations, and is a very optimistic person in general. This YouTube channel, I really want to be able to make this as a place to inspire everyone and to give everyone a lot more insight into how I got to where I am and how you can do the same. So let's begin. Okay, I want to throw you back all the way back to my childhood. When I was younger, I always wanted to work in accounts, investment banking. I knew I was good at maths, and this was just something that I saw myself being able to do and earn good money in and have that kind of lifestyle that everyone kind of talks about. By the time I was 18, I'd pretty much done all of the things that most people do once they turn 18, like going out partying and drinking. And when I was 18, I also had a degree apprenticeship lined up to go and work in KPMG, which is an accountancy firm in London. And this was kind of like my dream job opportunity. It meant that I could work in London, I could get my degree apprenticeship and not have to go to uni, because I just really wanted to go and earn money as soon as possible. Like, that was for me a big thing. But at this point as well, I was still drinking. I was still doing that kind of like lifestyle where you go out and you just party and your priorities just aren't really in line. And at that point, I did kind of ruin my exams by just drinking my way through them, not really like showing up to them and actually revising, because as a child, I'd always done really well without having to try. So all of my exams I just passed, and when it come down to doing my A levels, I didn't expect that I'd need to revise. And as much as people might have told me that I needed to, and as much as I might have knew that I should have, it didn't happen. I just didn't do it, and I didn't do it half as well as I should have. And I think it was a big wake-up call that I needed. At this point as well, a few other things happened, and I just went through a bit of like a downturn, like not having that happen for me, seeing a lot of people my age move on to having jobs, going to university, and I didn't really have anything lined up because I thought I was going to get this job. So I hadn't applied to uni. I kind of just went back to resit my A levels, and this was a bit of a downward spiral as well because it meant that I was going backwards in life, and that was just how I felt in general. Like, I'd turn up every day with the year below me, and I felt so behind in life. And I'm sure anyone can relate who's actually had to like resit a year or something like that. It is very like mentally struggling to kind of go through that. And at this point as well, like, a lot of other things kind of happened, and I just hit kind of rock bottom in like my mental state. I did not take care of the way I was thinking about life. I did not have like aspirations. I didn't try and apply for apprenticeships. I didn't try and apply for uni. Everything just started going very downhill. And until a point where I kind of realized that I was like, okay, I'm either gonna not be on this earth anymore, or I'm going to go and have this life that I've always dreamt about. For me, it was a case of I'm going to get it or I'm going to die trying at this point, because I wasn't ready to just settle for the rubbish life that I had been giving myself for that period of time that I had. So a big change for me was when I decided to go to uni. So my friends around me, they realised, everyone kind of realised that I was in a household that was very depressed, and a big thing about your mental state is the environment that you're in. So for me, being around people who are constantly depressed and victimizing themselves, I fell a victim of doing this myself. I wouldn't say it was just because of them, but like, being around people like that, it really doesn't help. And I really needed to get out of that situation to be able to sort out my mental health in that way. A big thing that I really wanted to do was I really just wanted to become happy again. I just wanted to learn how to make myself happy, and I just wanted to learn how to stop being so depressed. So I decided to go to university because, first of all, I was really scared to go. One of the big things about going to university was I really wanted somebody to go with me. I remember saying to one of my best friends at the time, why don't we go to university together? Because I was so scared to go by myself. But as a child, I love being around other people, and for me to go and get my own place by myself in London, away from everybody, it was a big leap, and I just felt like I was going off and doing something by myself, and I was going to be alone. And it was a big thing that I had to just kind of like go through to realize that it was my future, not anyone else's. And if I was going to do something that someone else wanted to do, like, I wasn't going to really be staying true to me. So I had to go and do that. I had to go and force myself to go to uni in London and leave that comfort zone of being at home and having friends around me. It was a very big step for me, and it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. As much as me today doesn't actually want to do anything with the degree that I'm doing right now, At that point back then, I really wanted to like carry on with being an investment banker, working in an accountancy firm or something like this. And I decided if I went to uni, then I could carry on with this pursuit of what I wanted to do. So I went to university in London and I decided to study economics, and I moved in to an apartment by myself. And this was a massive step for me. But after a few months at uni, unfortunately, I didn't kind of carry on in the pursuit of happiness that I thought I'd been on. Instead, I was trying to make friends, trying to fit in at uni, and I'd gone out drinking and kind of doing all the things that you do when you go to university. And after about 2 months, I was back in that place again where I just hated life and it wasn't worth living. So I got to that really rock bottom point again, and I was like, okay, time for another big change. The first big change was like going to uni. This was time for a second big change. And for me, it was like, I need to be that person that I want to be. And that person isn't somebody who goes out drinking with their friends. This is somebody who actually works on her future and goes and gets what she wants in life. So I wanted to learn about discipline, and I really wanted to learn about my mindset and how to like optimize it to be able to just be a machine basically and just be able to do whatever I wanted to do, not just be a victim of my feelings. So I spent about 4 months just sitting in my room, working. I would work out in the morning. I never went out with my friends. I was eating healthy. I was learning about ways that I could make money online. I was like out side hustles, anything. I was learning languages, anything I could learn about. I just wanted to learn. I just really wanted to use this period as a period of growth. I started reading books as well, which was a really, really big thing for me at this point because I never read a book before. So the first book I ever read was Good Vibes, Good Life by the Vex King. And oh my God, it was such a big game changer for me to realize like how big a difference it was for the things that I was consuming, the things that I was doing, things that I would say, talk about how much of an impact this had on who I was and who I was ever going to be. So this was my first ever book that I read, and it got me into like learning about all of this stuff 10 times more, and it made me absolutely love books. After that, I've just keep reading, and I can do a whole other video on books, but this is a different video. So even though I decided I wasn't going to go out, I wasn't going to go meet people, one of my friends that I was friends with, I knew she was hanging around with entrepreneurs, and for me, because I wanted to go and have better things for my life, I was like, do you know what, I'm going to go meet these people. So I put myself in that environment, and I remember meeting people. They were all younger than me, okay? They were all younger than me, and they were all having the kind of life that I would dream about, where they worked for themselves. They could basically pick and choose when they wanted to work, and they could all just travel and do whatever they wanted with their life. And because they just had like that really nice dynamic, and I was like, this is so much better than going and being an investment banker and working 9 hours of the day, probably more than that, 5 days a week. Like, I wanted that freedom, and that was for me like a big thing, realizing that people that were younger than me doing it, and I was like, all right, I'm cleverer than you guys. If you guys can do it, then I can do that. So after this, I decided to give myself big goals, big aims. One of the goals I set in place was, by the time I finish uni, I want to be able to travel. So however I did it, I knew that I needed to be able to work from my laptop in some kind of way, but I needed to be able to travel because that was just a big eye-opener. Being able to see people be able to do this, I was like, okay, I'm in my first year of uni. I've got another 2 years. I can make that happen in 2 years. There's no way that I could spend 2 years and not make that happen. Another big shift that I went through was when I met my boyfriend at the time. I really wanted to work with him because he inspired me in a lot of ways, and we ended up going to Dubai together, and this was such a big shift in my mindset and in what I thought that I could ever achieve for myself. It went from being somebody who could travel and work from their laptop to somebody who could be a millionaire and have a lot more of a life than I could have ever imagined before. So when I went out there, I remember like I met people and they were all so inspiring. They were so much further in life than me, but some of them were really my age again, so it was really crazy. Listening to like their stories, like how they got to where they were, it was really like inspiring. I remember I went through a really hard time being out there as well because sitting around tables with people who have a lot more money than you, are a lot more accomplished in life than you, and they're talking about things that you don't really know, let's be honest. Like, I didn't know half the things they were talking about. I definitely had a big case of imposter syndrome. And this was a big mental step that I had to go through being out there. The thing with imposter syndrome is you feel like you don't fit in. You feel like you're not meant to be at that table. But all it is you not seeing yourself worthy of being able to be at that same level as them. I saw myself as being below them, and that's the only reason I had imposter syndrome. I didn't see myself on the same level as them at all. Whereas now, I definitely do. I don't walk into a room of people who are more successful, more accomplished than me at all, and put myself down and feel like I'm a bit of like I don't deserve to be here. And I think that's a big step that anyone would have to go through to kind of tell themselves that they're worthy of being able to have whatever they want. Another big thing being out in Dubai, I think, opened my eyes up to was the fact that like this life was even possible. Like it was something that I probably had fantasized about, but it was never something that I could really picture. And after being out there and living in that kind of lifestyle where I wasn't just like looking at other people doing it, I was doing it myself. It was very like eye-opening, and being able to tangibly do it changed a lot for my mind, like my subconscious and everything. It made me realize that this stuff is possible, and if it's possible, then why could I not have it? When you're back home, like you think that having some kind of success means working in some high up job where you spend all of your time like putting into this job, putting into this corporation where the person at the top's making the most money, let's be honest, and you're just slaving away. And when I went out there, they were all the people who were at the top who were making all the money, and they had all the people who were working for them. And it was so crazy to like really experience that and see like what it's like to be like them. After coming back from Dubai, I had to sort out my living arrangement. I was finishing my second year of uni at this point, and I knew that I had to like sort out where I was going to be staying for the summer. And I had a student loan at this point, so I was like, okay, I can either use that and probably have to work in London the whole summer just to live here because London's expensive. There's other places in the world that probably are a lot cheaper, and I could just live off my student loan for the summer and find some online work. So like this was kind of like the trade-off that I had in my mind, and I knew that I wanted to do something out my comfort zone. I wanted to push myself to like not be an average person anymore. I just wanted to go and do something better, like than just like stay in London for the summer, and I knew that I needed to do something out the box. So I started looking at places in Asia, and that's when I learned about how much cheaper Thailand would be to live in. So all I did was book a one-way flight to Thailand, and I booked accommodation for 1 month, and I was like, okay, I'll figure it out when I get there. And that's literally what I did. I went out there, and I think I ended up staying out there for 4 months in Thailand before going to Bali. And this was all by myself. So a massive thing that I was scared about was going to Thailand by myself because, as I said before, like I'd always been somebody who'd been around people, and having to go by myself again was another big step in my independence. In Thailand, like I didn't know if I was going to make friends, if I was going to meet people. And I knew that I was going to be so far from home, so far out my comfort zone. It was just a massive step to take by myself. And I honestly recommend to anybody, any single person in the world who thinks about going and moving to another country by themselves, going and living somewhere, leaving their hometown and just doing it by themselves, do it. Like, don't even think twice, because it was the biggest growth that I've ever experienced, and I would 100% do it again, and I know I'm going to do it again. It's just one of them experiences that you could never have with somebody else. When you're with other people, the thing, you getting up in the morning, the things that you do during the day, the way that you eat, the way that everything that you do it works with somebody else's timetable. You have like other people to motivate you. You have another reason to get up in the morning, another reason to go out and do what you're doing. But when you're doing it all just for you, like you're the only person you're going out with, you're the only person that you're spending the day with, it's a massive change in like the way that you live your life, and it makes you realize like how much you need to be there for yourself rather than like care too much about like what everyone else is doing. Another thing about going to Thailand, I would say, is a lot of people had so many questions like, what are you going to do about visa? What are you going to do about like having money out there? Like how are you going to be stable? How is that secure? And I had all of these questions as well, but don't let this stuff stop you. If this is something that you want to do as well, please just figure it out when you go, because that's exactly what I did, and I will keep doing this. Every time I go away, I just want to keep figuring it out as I go. It's the funnest way to do it as well. If you have everything planned from the start, then if something goes wrong, then oh no, it's affected my plans. But like when you're just figuring it out, you're just having fun. That's exactly what I did. I just went out there. I just stayed out there for as long as I could in Thailand, and then I was like, okay, my visa's up. I've done like 3-4 months. Let's go and try Bali. I'd always dreamed of going to Bali ever since I was a kid. I'd seen like a lot of people go there, like influencers. I'd seen people like fantasize about the whole Bali experience, and it was one of them things that I'd always dreamt about. So to now then go there after was like a massive thing in life for me, to be like, wow, I'm not even just here on holiday. I'm just living here. Like, I'm just living, working, vibing. Just this is life out here. I'm not even just here for a couple of weeks. I stayed out there for a few months. Being in Thailand, I decided to push myself out my comfort zone. So I decided to try new foods. I'd never used to try new foods when I was younger. The first time I ever tried like Chinese or Indian when I was 18 years old. So it was really, really hard for me. It's always been hard for me to try and try new foods because of my like conditioning as a child to always be like, no, 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 I don't like it, and just eat chicken nuggets and chips. Um, but I decided I'm gonna try all this new Thai food. I'm gonna try all these new experiences. I decided to start trying Muay Thai. I'd never done martial arts before, but I absolutely love it. Obviously, there's loads of Thai food that I didn't enjoy, but I now have loads of food that I do enjoy. So a big thing about going out there was just constantly pushing myself out my comfort zone and just expanding who I was as a person. I really wanted to come back just somebody who had grown in so many ways. So another thing that I would say about moving out here is if you ever think about doing it and you think, oh no, I couldn't do that because of this, don't ever listen to the excuses, because when I had to come out here, one of the biggest things I was worried about was not having the money to stay out here, or not being able to find online work to keep myself sustained, or not keeping that online work and having to move back home and figure everything out from the beginning again. But the one thing I'd say is, there's this quote that I heard a long time ago, which I always live by. It's like, if you give yourself a week to tidy your room, it will take you a whole week. But if you give yourself an hour to do it, it will take you an hour. And that's exactly what it was like with me finding work. I ended up finding work when I needed it. When I knew I had to come back if I didn't find work, that's when I did it. And I think that's a big thing that I would say is like, if you feel like you can't come out here because of the security, or because of I'm too old, or I couldn't do it but without this person, or anything like that, there's always a way. Like, you can definitely do it. So yeah, the biggest things about my journey I would have to pinpoint is the growth. Like, for me, it's always wanting to be a different person, not ever staying in that same place or like that same mindset for like ever too long. I think every single month I'm always working on something like different within myself. I'm always overcoming something, and I always feel like I'm expanding. The person that I was like 2-3 years ago is so different to the person I am today. The person that I was 1 year ago is so different to the person I am today. And I think that's one thing that life is definitely about. If you can look back on yourself and be like, this is one thing that like I used to do when I was younger. I'd think every single New Year's I'd be like, I'm in the same place, and I definitely don't feel that way anymore. And that's how you know that you're growing in life. And if you do feel like you can look back on the last year or the last 2 years and you've been in the same place, then it just means that you haven't grown, and you just need to start growing. And all that is just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and doing them things that you would usually turn around and be like, no, I won't do that, or like there's no point, or I don't need to do that, or that's not me. Just do it. Just force yourself, and whether it's right or whether it's not, you learn, you grow, and it makes you a better person, and you're now a person who goes and takes risks and tries new things. One part of my journey that I haven't spoken about is my future plans, but I would much rather show you guys exactly what's going to be happening, which is why I've decided to make this channel, so you can go on this journey with me. So from now on, when I go through mindset shifts, I can share it with you guys and keep sharing with you what's going on in my life. I really want to make this place a place that's very inspiring for people, and something for people to be able to see as a way for them to realise that they can have a lot more than what they already have. That they might need to push themselves out of their comfort zone in a certain way, or that there was something that was holding them back, that was holding me back as well. I really want you to be able to use this as a way to dive into yourself. There's also a lot more things that I could talk about when it comes to my journey. I could expand on like so many of these points in so much more detail. I think I could have a whole YouTube video for each single one, like, of different things that I've been through, which I do want to get around to doing. So if you guys have any things that you think that I should make videos about, Any things that I spoke about in here that would be good to like expand on, or you want to know more about, definitely leave them in the comments and let me know. So yeah, if you want to see my videos, make sure to hit subscribe. I am a lot more active on my Instagram at the moment, so if you want to see what I'm doing day to day, hit follow on there and you can see what I'm up to at the moment. Let me know if there's anything that you want to see in the future videos from me, and I'll see you in the next one.